Welcome one and all to Night Owl. Today, we'll be talking about Ashley Schwalm, a woman that, from the outside, seemed to have it all. A storybook marriage, a wonderful job, 2 terrific kids, and a beautiful home. That was until her remains were found in a fetal position on the passenger side of a burning SUV in a ditch just off of Arrowhead Road. Ashley Milnes, or as her friends and family called her, AJ, was from North Toronto, Ontario, Canada. She would spend most of her weekends during the winter months at her family's chalet in Collingwood. She loved hiking, running, playing golf and tennis. And she was also a huge Green Bay Packer fan. She was known as a loving and warm woman with an infectious smile and optimism. She was the sort of friend we'd all wish to have, the kind of friend that, if you're going through something in your life, she always seemed to make it better. And when tragedy struck her family with the 2004 passing of her mother from cancer, she was the strength that held the whole family together. In fact, she was known to give support, without sugarcoating it, mind you, to all her family and friends, many of which would come to her if they needed help with their family, to which she would always be willing to hand out a bit of wisdom. One of her friends, Carrie Dyson, had even told reporters, quote, "Ashley was someone you could talk to about what was going on in your life. She made everyone feel like the most special person in the world." She was that sort of woman that no matter how rough life got, she'd always tried her best to keep her spirits up. And her laugh, while much like her smile, was truly infectious. I mean, once she started laughing, which was a lot, you were powerless to prevent yourself from laughing too. And that laugh was what bewitched James Schwalm. James Schwalm, like Ashley, was from the Toronto area, and his whole family was a family of good Samaritans. Take his grandparents, for example. They operated a charitable foundation that helped to fund educational programs, hospice care, as well as addiction recovery programs. And his mom was no slouch either. She was a big wheel in the entertainment industry, was a board member of the Jays Foundation and the Canadian Tourette's Foundation. Not to mention, in 1998, she helped to create the Canadian Walk of Fame. Well, as you can probably well imagine, after spending his life surrounded by true heroes, he decided to join the club. So James, or Jim as everyone called him, became a firefighter with the Brampton Fire and Emergency Services. And there he flourished. He was well liked and respected by the other personnel. In fact, he was made an acting captain by the early 2010s. According to his coworkers, he was a great leader and extremely supportive. He was always willing to take a newbie under his wing. Most of the people that knew him thought he had an enchanted life, the kind of guy that would wear tailored suits, drink the best hooch, and he even had a monogrammed lighter, monogrammed with JWS, which stood for, of course, James William Schwalm. He was even a member of a private ski club called Craigleith, over by the Blue Mountain Resort. And that is where he met and fell in love with Ashley. So, of course, that is where, in September 2012, they got married. By this time, James had been made a full captain in the fire department, which came with a $140,000 paycheck. That combined with Ashley's paycheck, which was substantial, seeing how she ran her own successful interior design company. They were doing pretty well for themselves. And a little bit later, they even popped out a couple of kids, a son and a daughter. It seemed, at least for a while anyway, that they were leading the kind of life most people would fantasize about. But, as they say, nothing lasts forever. During the summer of 2021, Ashley got herself a new job working at this place in Port Carling, designing ritzy places like chalets and custom cabins, stuff like that. Her boss, a dude named Steve, was a rich, good-looking son of a gun. And well, within 6 months they started an affair. And this affair? Well, it was pretty easy to keep secret. I mean, they had tons of out-of-town trips to check out different projects. So for a while anyway, neither James or Steve's wife, Alexandra, had any idea it was going on. But as with most affairs, eventually, it was indeed discovered. Steve's wife, Alexandra, said adios to the marriage, which is pretty understanding. But James had a bit of a different opinion. He actually wanted to work on the marriage. He thought that maybe, just maybe, they could bounce back from that. You know what? That is something I never truly understood. How is it possible to actually come back from an affair? I mean, I have been cheated on, and I gotta tell ya, that's like the ultimate betrayal. Someone cheats on you, and all the trust you once had in that person is gone in a heartbeat. And once the trust is gone, can you truly have a solid relationship? Anyway, they did try to get back to where they were, relationship-wise, I mean, Ashley even quit her job with old Steve and got a different job. As for James, how did he deal with the affair? Well, he pretty much said nothing happened, at least publicly. But the old rumor mill was in full swing. I mean, people did notice a complete change in attitude. Co-workers noticed he wasn't as jovial or supportive of newbies. In fact, at times, he was pretty damn condescending. And away from work, well, a lot of his friends noticed that he was hitting the bottle a bit harder than usual. But most people just chalked it up to job-related stress. They, of course, hoped he'd just return to his old self, eventually. But before long, cracks started to form in their relationship again. I mean, they tried the whole counseling and therapy thing, but it didn't really help that much. In 2022, James told his mom that he thought his and Ashley's relationship was done, and Ashley pretty much told her family the same thing. She even texted her sister a line from Air Supply, all out of love. She told one of her friends that in 2023, she was just going to focus on her kids and on doing things that make her happy, and how year 2023 was going to be the quote-unquote year of Ashley. Old James was even considering having his own little affair. I bet you can't guess with who? With Alexandra. Steve's ex-wife. Wow, it's almost like a damn soap opera. All you need is someone pregnant by an evil twin, and you'd be all set. He sent some text messages to her telling how he had feelings for her, and she said that she pretty much felt the same way. But unlike James's wife, Alexandra was not into married dudes. And well, a few days later he pretty much told her his marriage was done, and that much like his wife, he wanted to do something that would make him happy. It would be nice if that was where our story ended. The two get divorced, decide on custody of their kids, split their assets, and just go their separate ways. But as you can guess, seeing how this is a true crime channel, that's not at all what happened. James had to figure out a new life plan. I mean, he couldn't very well stay with Ashley. All the trust and most of the love was now gone. Divorce? Well, he didn't much like that idea either. I mean, to have to share custody of the kids would be heartbreaking. And then there's the hit to the old pocketbook to think of. Between alimony, child support, and all the court costs that comes with a divorce, it could leave him in financial ruin. Oh, and let's not forget his rep in the community. It might never recover, for some reason. So he sat down and thought, there's gotta be another way. Then it hit him, I got it. What if she just wasn't alive anymore? He thought that it would be perfect payback for her cheating. And with her, just gone, he'd get the house and kids, not to mention all the sympathy he could handle. Not to mention the cash. You see, it seems that Ashley didn't just have one life insurance policy, she had two. One for the kids. Each of the kids would get like $250,000 in the event of her passing. And as for the second policy, well, it stated that James would get a cool $1 million payout. As far as he was concerned, it was a perfect idea. The only thing left to do was to figure out how to do it so that he wouldn't get caught, so he'd have to make it look like an accident. The morning of the 25th of January, 2023, was like any other morning. Ashley gave the kids their breakfast and dropped them off to school, then went to her job herself. Around that time, James was finishing his overnight shift at the fire department, did some running around in Toronto, then went home. Afternoon came, and Ashley took the dog for a walk. As she was doing that, James got the kids and put them in their Toyota 4Runner. He then took his daughter to her weekly riding lesson. James and his son then took a little ride down Arrowhead Road to the Alpine Ski Club. They weren't there that long, just long enough for dear old Dad to check out the parking lot. After that, they popped into his folks' place for a visit. He had already told his mom that the next day he was planning on a rather long hike that would take him all the way to Craigleith. And because he'd be all tuckered out from his hike, he was hoping to borrow her car, a Hyundai Kona, that he could have parked at Craigleith so he could drive home. And of course she said that would be fine. Later that night, their son woke up and heard his folks fighting. He looked out into the hallway to see what all the hubbub was. Once there, Ashley told her son to go get her phone because she needed to call the police. He returned to his mother's side and gave her her phone. His dad instructed his son to get his butt to bed. He, of course, did as he was told. And as for that 911 call, it was a call that never went out. When Ashley turned her attention back to her husband, he attacked, grabbing her by her throat and squeezing. Ashley tried to fight for her life, but to no avail. In the movies, it always shows unaliving someone that way as taking mere seconds. But in reality, it can take at least 5 minutes of uninterrupted pressure. But the racket they were making ended up waking their daughter up. She could have sworn she heard someone tumbling down the stairs. When next their son came out of his room, his mom was gone, and his father was downstairs in their mud room, crying. He heard his dad ask their Alexa device for the time, to which it responded, 3 a.m. By this time, it was the 26th of January. During the next 2 hours, he dressed his wife in her hiking clothes and put her in her car, a Mitsubishi Outlander. At approximately 5 a.m., he saw his son was awake. So he told his son, no worries, he was just taking the dog for a walk. He then grabbed his keys and both his and Ashley's cell phones and left. As for the dog, he was left in the sunroom. Yeah, he sort of forgot the most important thing you need when you're walking the dog. The dog. Anyway, before taking off in the Outlander, he sent a text message to Ashley that read, "Okay, leaving now, see you soon." Then, a little bit later, he sent a text to himself from Ashley's phone. "Okay, I'm going to zip out. I think the kids will be fine, they're sleeping." As he headed north towards Arrowhead Road, he sent himself another text pretending to be his wife. "Sorry about yelling at you this morning. We both need our time your walks, and my hikes are important." At approximately 5:45 a.m., he pulled into the Alpine ski lot, got out of the Outlander, and poured gasoline all over the interior. And he also left the driver's window open a crack, to let oxygen in for the fire. Because of his expertise as a firefighter, he knew that might look a little suspicious. So, in an attempt to cover his own butt, he sent yet another text to himself from Ashley's phone. I left the gas cans in my car, and it smells. I have to drive with the windows open, and it's so cold out." He then drove away from the ski club. He drove for about a minute north, stopped, and sent himself a final text from Ashley. It said, "Oh, I have vertigo. I'm gonna rush home and try to work out in the basement. I feel like crap, I can't hike." Now, Ashley did have a condition called Meniere's disease, which caused problems with her inner ear, which would give her cases of vertigo from time to time. It even caused her to pass out at the grocery store. So, this text message did seem believable. He then was able to get Ashley's car to drive off the road and down the steep and snow-covered embankment. He then ran down to where the car rested, threw a lighter in through the open window, then ran as both the Outlander and his wife went up in flames. He ran all the way to Craigleith, picked up his mom's car, and drove it to a school close to his house. He parked the car and finished his trip home on foot. Once home, he acted like nothing had happened. Like psychopaths do. He got the kids ready for school, and once their school day had begun, he went to a part-time job he had at a place called Walker's. Now he had this job not so much because he needed the money, because he didn't. He got this job mostly just because he didn't like being idle. Anyway, as you can imagine, it didn't take too long before someone noticed the smoke coming from the burning car, which of course was reported to the police. When the police and fire department showed up, the car was still ablaze. But the fire department was able to put it out easily enough. Upon investigating the scene, they discovered the body of someone in the fetal position on the floor of the passenger's side of the car. The body was burnt beyond recognition. The other thing that seemed pretty odd was the fact that there were footprints leading from the driver's side of the car, but no driver was at the scene. But because of the license plate, they were able to determine who owned the car. James Schwalm. Upon discovering this, the police stopped into James's house to talk to him. But seeing how he was at Walker's, no one was home. But the police already knew that James was a firefighter, so they called his firehouse. But seeing how he wasn't working there that day, he couldn't be reached there either. They were, however, able to talk to one of his coworkers named Brittany Holmberg. They told her what was going on. She had known the family pretty well and was able to confirm that the Outlander they had found did indeed belong to James, and that it was the car that Ashley normally drove. She also told the police that she knew where Ashley worked and offered to call both James and Ashley on the police behalf, to which they agreed. So first she tried to get a hold of James, but all she got was his voicemail. This caused her to damn near panic. Was her friend gone, or was he hurt, or what? So she then called Ashley's employer and was told she was a no-show that day, which struck Brittany as pretty weird. But just as she hung up with Ashley's boss, her phone rang. It was James. A wave of relief washed over her. She told him that she thought he was unalive, to which he just laughed and confirmed that nope, he was still among the living. She then asked him, "Schwalm, where is Ashley?" He said that the last time he had seen her was at home, and that she was sick due to vertigo and opted to stay home from work that day. So Brittany, believing James' every word, called the police back to tell them what James had said and that he was at work at Walker's. A bit after 2 p.m., the police stopped by Walker's to talk to James. They told him about the burnout Outlander and the body they found that they believed to be Ashley. To which James gave what I'm sure was an Oscar-winning performance. The police asked him if he could tell them what happened that morning. So he told them about how they had a stupid argument. It was because one of them wanted to go for a hike, while the other wanted to take the dog for a walk. He even showed CCTV footage of him walking the dog. The footage also showed the SUV leaving, but the driver was not able to be seen. As for the gas cans, well, he told the police that he had asked his wife to get some gas for the snowblower. He even showed the text between he and his wife that did seem to back up his story. In fact, the police even thought that perhaps she may have become a bit dizzy while driving and crashed the car. Now keep in mind, James did have some idea on what he was doing. I mean, he was a firefighter after all, and he knew how these investigations normally played out, and he thought that he might have been clever enough to get away with it, and to outsmart his family and friends. But nowadays, it's become ever so harder to get away with crime. I mean, between the police being able to tell almost exactly where you were thanks to cell towers, and the fact that there are so many cameras that can be anywhere and everywhere these days, that it's a little surprising that people even try anymore. But I guess you'll always have a few people that think they can outsmart Big Brother. Ashley's family, though, well, they started to have a few doubts about James' story. It just didn't seem right. The one part they had an issue with was the whole hike thing. Make no mistake, she did indeed love her hikes, but the problem they had with it was the where and the when. They just couldn't seem to understand why she went for a hike all the way up to Craigleith at so early in the morning. I mean, during the week she'd only hike around her own place. They had several trails close to home. And when she hiked, it was always during the day. So, as you can imagine, to them, James's story just seemed a bit weird. And it seems they were not the only ones that started to have doubts. On the 28th of January, the police stopped by James' place for another little chat. You see, they don't have quite enough evidence to make James a suspect yet, just, a person of interest. Anyway, they had told him that his wife's passing did look a little bit suspicious, so they wanted to ask more about what he was doing on the day. So he, once again, said that while she was gone on her hike, he was walking the dog. He even pulled out a map and showed them the route he took. So, because it was such a nice day out, they decided to take a bit of a hike themselves. They, in fact, hiked down the route that James said he took. What the police found out was that there was a literal treasure trove of cameras. It's like almost everyone had a camera. So, they proceeded to talk to everyone on the route to see if they could maybe sneak a peek at their footage. And when they looked at the footage for the 26th of January, well, it did show James on it, but he wasn't walking the dog. What did the footage show James doing, you might ask? The footage they got showed James messing around in the trunk of the Outlander at the ski club. Another bit of footage showed him running down a road with a fireball in the background, and yet another camera shows him booting it back to the ski club. So, it's at this point the police got warrants for James' cell and computer. And when they checked his search history, and well, let's just say it didn't really help James' case much. It showed he searched for info like alimony. Does a road flare completely burn? And can you see iPhone history after deleted? Oh, they were also able to look at James' own doorbell cam. And do you know what it showed on January the 26th? James using the snowblower. Gee, I guess he had plenty of gas after all. The police started to think that Ashley's passing may not have been an accident after all. After talking to Ashley's friends and family, they started to believe that James may have unalived her. In fact, one of the people they interviewed was a doctor friend who said that James had asked him if it was truly possible to unalive someone by breaking their neck, like in those Steven Seagal movies. That was just a few days before the quote-unquote accident. At this time is when the Center of Forensic Sciences got back to them. They had determined that the body they found in the SUV was indeed Ashley Schwalm's. But she didn't pass because of any accident. In fact, she was even gone long before the fire. She passed away from neck compressions, meaning she was unalived by someone. Oh, the Center of Forensic Sciences report did contain a bit more information. It seemed they found a lighter in the debris, the very lighter that most likely started the blaze. On it, it had someone's initials on it. The letters JWS. You know what? Old James may have been a pretty good firefighter, but a master criminal? Not so much. In November 2024, the courtroom filled up with Ashley's family and friends. James was led into the courtroom, and by this time he had been in custody since February 2023 because he was denied bail and was charged with unaliving Ashley in the first degree and indignity to a body. But he took a plea deal which reduced the charges to second degree. It does come with a life sentence, but you do have a chance of being paroled after a certain time. To assist the judge in making her sentencing decision, over 20 of Ashley's friends and family read victim impact statements, each describing how the loss of Ashley had affected them. Then it came time for Ashley's kid brother and wife to read theirs. You see, after James' arrest, they took the kids in. They described how what James had done to their mother had affected them. They got uprooted from their friends, their home, from their very life. The kids are now scared to be left alone, scared of firefighters, even scared of getting into cars because of how their mom was found. Ashley's sister-in-law said their childhood innocence, happiness, and freedom are all gone. This will follow the children for their entire lives. The last one to speak was Ian Milnes, Ashley's father. 20 years ago, the poor man had lost his wife to cancer. He thought he'd be the next one to go, but instead he has to endure the worst fate any parent could have, to outlive one of their children. He said AJ will miss the kids growing up, bandaging their cuts, consoling their breakups, cheering them on to victory, and enjoying them growing to adulthood. No proms, no graduations, no marriages, no grandchildren. This selfish act only benefited you, Jamie, Ian said, looking straight at James. The judge ended up sentencing him to life in prison with no chance of parole for 20 years. Oh, he's also not allowed contact with his kids until they're 18. Gee, you gotta love the judge's optimism. What the hell makes her think that the kids are ever gonna want to see that POS again? We at Night Owl want to send out our sympathies to Ashley's friends and family, in particular, her 2 kids, and if they are watching this, all I can say is try not to focus on how she passed, but think instead how she lived. Well, thanks for stopping by. If you liked this video, then please hit like, subscribe, and share it. It'll really help our channel out. And if you have any cases you'd like me to cover, or anything you'd like to comment on, then please, by all means, leave me a post in the comments. Until next time, good night.